Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held June 2nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. at the Cottonwood Community Clubhouse. And I need to ask all the council please to speak directly into your mic because the TV crew had a hard time picking us up, I believe. So speak clearly into your mics tonight, please. Thanks. First order of business is roll call.
Councilmember Wilden.
Here.
Councilmember Halls.
Here.
Councilmember Hauge.
Here.
Councilmember Naren.
Here.
Vice Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Mayor Linsky.
Here.
And Councilmember Henry is absent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Do we have any council members? Yes, please.
Just an FYI, I met with Christian at the chamber, guess last week, and we had a good one-on-one conversation, and I helped understand. He helped me understand the chamber situation, and I hopefully helped him understand the city situation. So, just for the record, I am absolutely in favor of supporting the chamber as much as we can.
Great, thank you. Did you have something to report?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I also met with Christian and had a nice visit. Christian indicated to me that he feels, from their standpoint, it would be very important for the council and the chamber board of directors to have a meeting before our budget meetings in July. I know we discussed this last Thursday, and I know that there was some talk that wasn't real convenient, but I get the impression that from the standpoint of taking care of our community, it would be a good idea if we could fit that meeting in before the budget.
All right. Any other reports from council?
Yeah. So Saturday night, we had the car cruise down here in Old Town, and it was quite a success. So I brought my car down, and we had dinner and walked around and enjoyed it, and looked like it brought a bunch of people into town, and I look forward to seeing if we're going to have that every month, for a while anyway.
Great. Yeah, I heard it was a good event myself, so that's good. Councilmember Nairn, did you have anything? No? Councilmember Hauge? No. Okay. Just briefly, well, I guess you can speak about it, Ron. We met with Keith Watkins today from the Arizona Commerce Authority. We were able to sit down with him and introduce him to Tricia and Lewis, our new Economic Development Director, and starting to build that relationship with him. And he's a good gentleman. Sorry, thanks. Gotta follow my own advice here. Anyways, nice to meet him and start building that relationship.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I agree. One of the nice things is he helped secure funding for broadband and was on task to get $10 million set aside this next FY. They're not getting the $10 million now, but it is a priority for the governor and his office to work on getting broadband to the rural communities. He realized how important it is for education and businesses and all the other economic drivers. So he's on that and working and keeping us in the loop. And of course, we offered our help with letters or whatever else we could do to help with that. But you know, it's nice to have someone from that department and the mayor's office come down and visit in Cottonwood, see all the great things we have going on. And we talked about some of the needs for economic development, including infrastructure money, water lines, wastewater pumps, those kinds of things to help us make land more ready, available to develop for commercial purposes. We talked about the airport, very on board. They get lots of requests, he says, for companies looking to locate near airports, industrial land. So we're on the radar now. Tricia Lewis, our director, she's got his email and will respond to his emails. Apparently they send out feelers when they get interest from companies, and we're going to make sure Cottonwood starts to get on those lists to let them know we're open for business. So it was a great meeting, good for Cottonwood to have that relationship with the governor's office.
Yep. Very good. Anything else to report?
Just a couple minor things I think that are pretty cool. I'll start with the last thing on the list, but the library opened today. So the last city building for the city of Cottonwood is open. Still reserved, decreased services, no groups. The meeting room's not open. Our youth services for group activities still not going yet, waiting for the governor to go on to phase 2 before we start those kinds of things. And of course, our part-time staff will be coming back June 29th, so then we'll be able to start doing more. That's the same goal for the rec center, is June 29th for the pools, for our summer camps, for indoor programming. We're hoping for June 29th. If we're in phase 2 and the budget it moves in the direction it currently is moving. So stay tuned, but very excited the library is open. I don't know if you drove by there, but the parking lot was full. So people love our library, and it's a great little gym there. I do want to let the community know that the Parks and Recreation Master Plan first virtual open house will be held this Thursday, June 4th from 4 to 7. Information can be found at our website, CottonwoodParkMasterPlan.com. So if you use any of our services or want to use any of our services for parks, log in and make your opinion known about our parks. So Parks and Rec is working with Mingus Union High School and the Verde Valley Little League to get their program back up and going now that the governor has released guidelines for a return to youth sports. Little League will begin starting up with games for some age groups next Monday. Mingus Union High School is still working on their schedule. Both will have strict guidelines in place to accommodate for proper social distancing. Also, the swim team, the summer swim program has decided not to continue on, but now we're looking at the Mingus swim team, and they might start early with some type of practicing, hoping that the older kids can social distance better than maybe some of the younger kids. So we're still working with our swim teams. Sir?
Ron, the Parks and Rec is going to have their open house here or at the rec center?
It's actually going to be online.
Oh, online.
It's going to be online, yeah. So you have to go to, I'm glad you asked, it's going to be online, CottonwoodParkMasterPlan.com. So there will be directions there how to sign up for the Zoom meeting so that you can participate. They had the first one for internal staff earlier. Mm-hmm. I'm going in and out. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And we had about 15 people participate, and so it was good. The moderators seem to know how to handle this and can do a good job getting input. And of course, we still have our survey online, which you can go to the Cottonwood Parks and Rec webpage to get to our survey. That, and I think I sent an email that we did receive 1.4. Well, we haven't received it yet. We are scheduled to receive 1.4 million in the CARES fund from the federal government. That is the money that the feds gave about 6 weeks ago, and it's now been allocated based on population, and so we'll be in line to get that. We've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, and so we're hoping to get that. We'll have that up for a brief discussion on the 16th budget meeting. I can tell you right now, staff plans to recommend putting that in reserves for the most part, just until the end of this FY, or FY21, just to make sure that we get through this pandemic and the economic impact. We'll have that money there. But of course, council can direct as needed, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we had the 1.4 available. Mm-hmm. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Where does that money go into once we get it?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Mayor, it's not complicated, but it's complicated. So it goes in for staff for public safety, police, fire, communications. Then we take the money that we had budgeted for those departments, and we can use them as needed, as directed by City Council.
As far as the bank account, that's where I was.
Mine. No. Is Rudy here? Is Mr. Rodriguez here? Yes, I am. Mr. Rodriguez, if it's all right with Mr. Horton, can you answer the question about where it actually goes once we get it?
Sure, Mayor and Council. Once we get it, it goes into an investment account. PFM handles our investment account, so it won't be sitting at the bank idle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like his mask.
Yeah, you can make a lot of those.
I do too. I think his wife did make some of those masks. They worked. She works with another group that helped make masks for our hospital.
Great. It suits you. Yeah.
Keep it.
All right. If there's nothing else, then we'll move on to proclamations. We have just one this evening. It's proclaiming June 14th, 2020 to be the United States Army's 245th birthday. I don't know if we have anybody in the audience tonight to receive this proclamation, but I think we have one volunteer over here.
I'd be honored, sir.
Great. Okay. Whereas on June 14th, 1775, the Second Continental, God, I'm tripping over my tongue tonight, excuse me. The Second Continental Congress, representing the citizens of 13 American colonies, authorized the establishment of the Continental Army. And whereas the collective expression of the pursuit of personal freedom that caused the authorization and organization of the United States Army led to the adoption of the Declaration of Independence and the codification of the new nation's basic principles and values in the Constitution. And whereas for the past 245 years, the U.S. Army's central mission has been to fight and win the nation's wars. And whereas the motto of duty, honor, country is the creed by which the American soldier lives and serves. And whereas no matter what the cause, location, or magnitude of future conflicts, the nation can rely on the U.S. Army to produce well-trained, well-led, and highly motivated soldiers to carry out the missions entrusted to them. And whereas the components of the U.S. Army, to include the Arizona Army National Guard, the U.S. Army Reserves, and the regular Army, have contributed immensely to COVID-19 response. And whereas members of the city of Cottonwood have proudly served and made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedom while serving in the United States Army and other branches of our nation's military. Now therefore I, Tim Linsky, the mayor of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2020 to be United States Army's 245th birthday and express appreciation on behalf of the people of Cottonwood to the United States Army and to the dedicated soldiers who have served in it over the 245 years it has been in existence. And we have many on our council that have served in the Army, including our city manager, Ron Corbin, Councilmember Holz. Army or Coast Guard? Coast Guard. So sorry.
Don't
I know
start a
that's
fight tonight, Mr. Mayor, please.
Yeah.
And my dad served in the Army.
Okay. Great. Vice Mayor as well.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to do that.
And of course, Councilmember Howdegi served in the Army and served in conflict as well in Vietnam.
I served in the Navy.
In the Navy? Okay.
But, you know, land and sea, what the heck.
Yeah. All right.
I did serve in the Army, sir.
Okay, well, I got maybe one right, but no.
Well, I can just add, just by relationship, my dad did proudly serve in the Army as well.
Good, good. All right, well, we'll present this to you then, sir. All right, moving on. We have presentations. One presentation this evening from Lori Altringer. She'll present information regarding the new science vortex at the Verde Valley Center. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm very excited to tell you about a new Children's STEAM Center opening here in Cottonwood. STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. And we are proud to be opening it in Cottonwood, Arizona. This is a magnet from our selfie station that will be in the center. The Science Vortex was created to spark STEAM, passion, and curiosity within the roughly 7,500 children living in the Verde Valley, ages 2 through 12. My name is Lori Altringer, and I'm the founder and the director of the Science Vortex. I have a master's degree in environmental education with an endorsement in mathematics with an Arizona teaching license, And I'm also a mother to an 8-year-old and 10-year-old who I'm raising here in the Verde Valley. And this is Don Groves.
Good evening, everyone. Took my mask off so I could smile at you. You could see my smile. Well, as you can see by my face, I've been around for a long time. I've been a teacher and a counselor, teacher at the elementary, middle school, high school level, counselor at all 3 levels, high school principal, and international school superintendent. And I just want to tell you, we may want to take a look at that next slide. Lori? That one right there? Yes. Thank you. When I was a teacher and a counselor and a high school principal, we had the funds to have the kind of science program, mathematics program, arts program that unfortunately we can't do that again today. I have high regard for the superintendent of the Cottonwood schools, Steve King, know him well. And, he's wringing his hands too about the lack of funding. So what this program does, it allows us to supplement that through using the Cottonwood schools facilities to really bring world-class education in those areas to our children. And so for you to be involved in it as a city council, I think is very forward-looking. We hope you become involved. You're proactive, you're forward-looking, and you're really making an investment in the future of Arizona, and that's our children. I think you have a handout that has these statistics, and so you can go home and take a look at those, but they're very compelling.
So what is our center? Our center is going to have hands-on interactive exhibits typical of a children's museum, enticing learning materials such as circuitry blocks, light tables, balances, Rube Goldberg machines, and craft materials, and engaging programs for children ages 2 through 12, such as Leap into Science, Girls Who Code, and Teen Mastermind. We'll be serving local children with toddler time, after-school clubs and workshops, exhibits, tinkering materials, birthday parties, kids' night outs, and annual family memberships. We'll be serving local grandparents with annual grandparent memberships that include up to 5 accompanying grandchildren. Schools with a range of standards-based, grade-specific field trips that will include a hands-on STEM lab and exploration. And by hands-on, during these times, we mean interactive. And also serving tourists with kids. So we'll have weekend programming where visiting parents who want to go wine tasting, fine dining, art gallery touring will be able to drop off their kids at our center for quality STEAM programming. So we are moving full steam ahead with our plans. At the end of this month, we're moving into the Cottonwood School District's Educational Services Building on Willard Street. And we definitely have to have a shout out to COCSD because they've been really supportive in our efforts. And just next week, we start STEAM summer camps. We're starting with virtual summer camps, and thanks to VV Stream and the NARBA Institute, we are able to offer the programming for free and provide every camper with an all-inclusive kit so that no one's excluded from participating in the free program. And NARBA Institute is also providing scholarships for our in-center camps in July for low-income children. Programs will expand in the fall to offer Makerspace Mondays, toddler time, birthday parties, after-school clubs, field trips, kids' night out, and weekend drop and go. And then finally, in January 2021 will be our grand opening where we offer regular open hours for exploration and play, and our annual memberships will take effect. So we'll have individual, family, and grandparent memberships. We plan to become an ASTC designated site, which is really exciting for our local members because that would make it free for them to go to Arizona Science Center for free and other science centers really around the world, but around the United States there's a lot. So we're very grateful for the startup funds that we have already received from these donors. As a nonprofit, the Science Vortex needs the support of municipalities, businesses, and individuals throughout the Verde Valley. I have a handout for each of you. Who should I give that to? Okay. And so we are requesting that you consider becoming founding members, spreading the word about our center, and joining our mailing list at sciencevortex.org. One of our partners and donor organizations is here today. It's Verde Valley Stream Council, and Jeff Anderson is their outreach coordinator, so I'm going to pass off the mic to him. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeff Anderson. I'm a new Cottonwood resident, moved here in September, and recently signed on as a AmeriCorps Vista, which is a volunteer in service to America, as part of the Verde Valley Stream Council. In that capacity, I serve as the outreach coordinator. I'm trying to connect with groups in the Verde Valley area who promote STEM. And the council has been active since 2017. Promoting STEM through these organizations, such as the Science Vortex, Friends of the Verde River, Gardens for Humanity. The way they have been doing that in the past is to provide mini grants to help them promote activities that are STEM-based. And we're really happy to do that. One of the things that is important to know is that the funding for the council, the Stream Council, runs out in 2021. It's actually a National Science Foundation grant, and they've been managing it again for 3 years. In October 1st, the Stream Council will probably disband because it's really not a nonprofit organization. It's just a council of volunteers in the Verde Valley area who are promoting STEM. One of the other ways that we have been promoting STEM is through science cafes. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the science cafes. Our first science cafe, we brought an astronomer from ASU to the Southwest Wine Center, and there was about 60 people that attended and just learned about astronomy. It was a nice night to observe some stars and the moons. One of the local astronomy clubs came and put their telescopes up. We had others planned, an archaeology science cafe that had to be canceled because of COVID, but our last successful virtual science cafe, we actually had astronaut Mark Kelly on a virtual Zoom webinar, and he fielded questions from throughout the Verde Valley. So there was quite a few kids and adults who asked questions, and he took the time out to talk about his time on the space station. What we want to do in the future, and hopefully hand this off to an organization here in town, is to have science cafes that work at local businesses. So they're not just at the Yavapai College, or they're not just webinar. We would partner with local businesses, bring in a speaker, and guests could come in, enjoy a glass of wine or dinner, and learn a little bit about STEM. So that's kind of what the science, or the Stream Council has been doing, but I really do want to say Lori's group is awesome. It's really something that's important. My career I spent 30 years in software development in a computer science degree. So when you see those numbers where computer science and engineering are right at the top of the pay scale, it afforded me to retire at the age of 50. And a lot of opportunity needs to exist for the children in this community to be able to go after those types of careers in engineering and technology. So I appreciate any support that you guys can provide to the Science Vortex. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Well, thanks to you all for your hard work, and Ms. Altringer, I'm so pleased to see how far you've come since we first sat down a long time ago, and it seems like you're moving at lightning speed, so good work. Yeah, good work. Good work to all of you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add before they leave, to make sure that they're aware that Council currently has funded the community grant program, and so I'll keep your card, and Rudy or one of our folks from Finance will give you guys a call because you can apply for a grant here coming up. My guess is they'll go out next month. Is he nodding? Yep. The grant applications will go out no later than next month once Council approves the actual funding, and as long as you're a Cottonwood business and you are, a nonprofit, you're eligible from what I can tell. So make sure that that's available to them.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, council, next on the agenda is unfinished business. We just have one item tonight. It's ordinance number 677, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona for parcels of land totaling approximately 5.78 acres located at 840 South Main Street. Assessor's parcel number 406-04-040, 842 South Main Street, APN 406-06-02NM, and APN 406-06-364G, so as to revert the present zoning of PAD, Planned Area Development, to the previous zoning of R3, multiple family residential, R2, single family, multiple family residential, R1, single family residential, and C1, light commercial. This is the second and final reading. Evening.
There's a lot there, isn't there?
There is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Good evening. Scott Ellis, Community Development Director. As Mr. Mayor just said, this is a request for a reversion back to the former zonings from PAD. The original PAD was granted in 2015 with a stipulation that they apply for permits within 2 years. That came and went. They got another 2-year extension that has now come and gone with no application. And again, the property owner is aware of this. They don't have any objection. Some family issues and health issues have prevented them from moving forward. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it was before us before. This is the second final reading. Do we have any other comments or questions?
Just to make sure there's no objections to this from anybody?
No, not that we have received.
All right. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 677.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Holtz made the motion. Vice Mayor seconded it. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holtz?
Yes.
Councilmember Howery?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Councilmember Weldon?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
And motion carried.
All right. Let's have the Deputy Clerk please read ordinance number 677 by title only.
Ordinance number 677, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning map of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona for parcels of land totaling approximately 5.78 acres located at 840 South Main Street, APN 406-04-040, 842 South Main Street, APN 406-06-029M, and APN 406-06-364G, so as to revert the present zoning of PID, Planned Area Development, to the previous zoning of R3, multiple family residential, R2, single family, multiple family residential, R1, single family residential, and C1, light commercial. Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. We have two items on the consent agenda tonight. I'll read them out loud. If there's anybody that would like to have an item pooled, please raise your hand. Item 1 is extension of premises liquor license permit application submitted by Samuel Pillsbury, licensee for Pillsbury Wine Company, LLC, located at 1012 North Main Street. Item 2 is discussion, consideration, and possible approval of a proposed collateral assignment and estoppel certificate for Cottonwood Air Park lots 105 and 106. Would anyone like to have an item pooled? No. I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Naren seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's approved. And now we have new business. 3 items tonight under new business. Following items are for council consideration, discussion, and possible legal action. We have first item is request by Grosetta Ranches LLP for a waiver of the application fees for a conditional use permit to allow livestock grazing and barbed wire fencing in a C1 zone.
Thank you, Mayor Linsky, members of the council. As you stated, this is a request from Andy Grosetta for a waiving of the fees for a conditional use permit. We have an application, conditional use permit application from Mr. Grosetta for property that he owns at the corner of Cottonwood Street, East Cottonwood Street and Cove Parkway. His request is to waive the $800 conditional use permit fee that would allow the fencing to be placed on his property.
All right.
Mr. Grosetta is here this evening if you have any questions for him as well.
Okay. Council, do we have discussion or questions for staff at this time?
And I've seen cattle in there. What's the difference?
Currently, his ranch is right behind that. He recently purchased this 3-acre parcel of property and fenced it in and included it with his existing property.
Any other questions from?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Could we hear from Mr. Grosetta first?
Sure. Mr. Grosetta, would you like to approach the podium here? I'm sorry. I'll speak up. Sorry, sir. Welcome. Thanks for being here this evening.
Yep, thank you. It's hard to hear when you're sitting back of the room.
Okay, thank you.
Just FYI. Plus, I'm getting old.
I wasn't going to say it, but.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Corbin. I appreciate you considering our request. As you know, this property adjoins our ranch headquarters there at Bridgeport, just east of the Safeway Shopping Center. This particular piece of property has been a problem for neighboring property owners for years, and I didn't buy it because of that, but the landowner came to me and asked me if we had interest in buying it. It was a problem with the homeless people. The wash behind Safeway Shopping Center runs right through this parcel and then into the ranch. We had problems with the people accessing our ranch property through this parcel. They set up camps. The gentleman that owned the property before we purchased the property, he hauled away several dump truck loads. He had his own dump truck of about everything you can think of in those camps. When we had the property in escrow, he came again. We hauled off 8 pickup loads of, you name it, it was there, keep the place cleaned up. And as soon as we bought the property, we fenced the property. We grazed cattle right across the fence from it. And so it's just an addition to the ranch headquarters. We never thought about doing anything coming to the city, quite honestly. After I fenced it, you don't know how many people got a hold of us and thanked us for doing that. And it's a regular 4-wire barbed wire fence, cattle fence. And then after we did that, about a month after that, Mr. Corbin got a hold of me and Mr. Rodriguez got a hold of me and said, hey, by the way, you can't build a barbed wire fence in the city of Cottonwood and you can't run cattle, livestock. And I said, well, that's news to me because I'm in violation all over this town and have been for years, our family has. So we have miles and miles of fence inside the city limits. And so, but this was a new fence that we built to keep the cows in. And so we're not going to do anything with the property other than graze it. If we were going to build a building and had plans and had to go before design review and P&Z for all of the protocol that's required if you're going to develop the property, I wouldn't have a problem paying the $800. But it is what it is. We've cleaned it up. We're grazing it. It's a vacant piece of land, and so that's why we're asking for the waiver.
All right. Do we have any questions for Mr. Grosetta? No. Okay. Thank you, sir. Council discussion?
You know, it would clean up that section of land there that obviously has been a problem with people dumping stuff off and unfortunately homeless people that might have taken up residence there. So it might behoove us to consider that tonight before we move on.
I'm sorry, could you just...
can't hear me with this mask, can you?
I'm trying really hard to read your lips, but it's just...
yeah. Well, that's the idea, see. I mean, if I can talk with this on and talk you into it, I'm going to keep it on every time. No, I just think it's a good idea, and I think it'll be beneficial to the city of Cottonwood. Cleans up property. We're going to graze some cattle there. I don't see the harm in that at all.
So you would be in favor then of waiving the...
I would. I think there's a lot of good that will come out of this that will go over and above that $800.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Staff have an opinion on that?
I think, as he stated, we have in the past had multiple code enforcement violations. So for him to take over this property and clean it up and fence it, and that does take care of what had been an ongoing issue for us over time.
Okay, well, in light of that, that's a positive that I wasn't aware of, and I've been by there. It's a good-looking fence.
No, I think it makes sense, and it's easily worth $800 to the city. So I'm in favor.
I agree.
Okay. Councilmember Holmes?
I'm just happy that Councilmember Henry isn't here tonight.
Guess what? She's on her way.
But she may be watching.
I think it's a good idea.
All right. Well, I agree that the property's greatly cleaned up. I remember when there were camps back in there and debris that was left on the property.
Yeah.
The fence definitely did clean it up, and I hope you feel like the city's been a partner in finding a workaround as far as getting you to the ability to graze cattle in a commercial piece of property. So I hope we've.
Mr. Mayor, I'll add to that. I hope he can hear me. As soon as we brought it to his attention, he willingly met with us. He is going through the other hoops to get into compliance. Council and P&Z has made some changes to allow for this. Mm-hmm. This is just the waiver for the fee. He still has to go to P&Z and they have to approve it. But yes, he's been nothing but compliant once it was brought to his attention.
All right.
That is scheduled for the P&Z on the 15th of this month.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern with it really is setting a precedent that we have waived conditional use permits in the past, but ordinarily it's for nonprofits, school districts, that sort of thing. So though you've been a great community partner, because of that, I'm not in favor of waiving the conditional use permit. But I do appreciate very much what you've done to that property.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the request to waive the conditional use permit application fee of $800 for Grosseto Ranches Limited.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Holst made the motion. Councilmember Wilden seconded it. If we could have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Halls?
Yes.
Councilmember Hauerge?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Linsky?
No.
Motion carried.
Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, next is ordinance number 678, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404, general provisions, by deleting the current section 404W, outside display, and adding a new section 404W, use of public sidewalk. This is the first reading.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm Gary Davis with Community Development. This is a proposal to add a new section 404, replacing the one we have now, which is very small. It just says outside display must be approved by the Development Review Board, which is the Planning and Zoning Commission. What we're proposing is something that codifies some guidelines for sidewalks that are adjacent to shops. We do have a sidewalk cafe policy that was approved in 2004, but that's just a policy. It's not codified. So what we're proposing is something in three parts, basically, for this new 404W. Number one is about display of merchandise on sidewalks. Number two, talking about permanent structures built on sidewalks. And number three, guidelines for sidewalk cafe that would be in the code. The first one of those, display of merchandise on the sidewalks. Some of the major points that are in this provision would be the goods on display can only be from the adjacent store, nothing brought in from other locations. That at least a 5-foot clear pedestrian way is maintained per ADA requirements. That there be no display between the pedestrian way and the curb. In other words, the display happens between the pedestrian way and the shop, adjacent to the shop. And it can be no more than 50 feet of linear frontage of the shop. It can't be the whole frontage. 50 feet is the max, or 50%, I'm sorry. And the display needs to be removed after business hours so it doesn't sit out overnight.
and no dangerous, bulky, junky items on display. The second one, talking about permanent structures on the sidewalks. An encroachment permit would be required in order to construct something permanently on the sidewalk, and that comes through the Public Works Department. City may revoke the encroachment permit if need be. The property owner is responsible for maintaining the structure, not the city.
May I interrupt as you go along?
Pardon?
Yeah, may I interrupt as you
Certainly.
go through? What would the city revoke an encroachment permit for?
If maybe it becomes a safety hazard, we don't specify what the issue would be, but if you need to get at utilities, things like that, there are certain things that may be necessary to revoke the permit.
Okay.
And that the structure be removable without damaging the building or the sidewalk. And again, requiring the 5-foot pedestrian way per ADA. Sidewalk cafes, code review board approval would be required through city staff. Again, the 5-foot pedestrian way must be provided. May be separated by a permanent structure like we saw in number 2, but that's not required, it's an option. Has to meet all county health and liquor standards, safe and Arizona state liquor standards, and service and transactions need to be from inside the building, other than maybe the card swipe server pads. All the food service and the transactions take place inside the building, not out on the sidewalk. And insurance is required. And we did have some changes to the final ordinance wording. Our legal counsel added some additional wording about insurance. So if you've noticed that the wording in the ordinance is different from the wording in the markup version, that's why. That was a fairly late change that was made. So that concludes my presentation. This was recommended unanimously for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 15th, and we've received no public input on it.
Okay. Now, because this predominantly is going to impact the businesses in Old Town, have you run this past the Old Town Association or gotten any feedback from them, from their members?
They've been aware of this. I think others on staff have been contacting them and
Okay.
letting them know.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add, and our Community Development Director can add to that also, 100% support from the OTA. I've received nothing but positive comments. One of the things that I like about this ordinance is it allows our code enforcements to begin to enforce it versus a policy that's a little harder to enforce and address. And we receive complaints on a regular basis about clutter, blocked walkways, the look and appearance of Old Town. This would allow us to be able to better enforce a uniform standard. It takes a lot of gray out of what we currently do and have. But all I've heard is positive feedback.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, as Mr. Corbin just said, we did send a draft prior to going to Planning Commission to the OTA and to the Chamber of Commerce for the review comment. We didn't receive anything, certainly not anything negative. They were very supportive of it. And just one more thing to go along with what he said. I think in the last 2 to 3 weeks is our most recent concern or complaint regarding clutter on the sidewalk.
Okay. All right, very good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to declare a conflict. My wife and I own a building in the general area that we're talking about, so it's probably prudent of me to step back on this item.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Any other feedback from council?
Just a quick question. The insurance, is the city named additional insured, or how does that work?
Mayor and council, yes, that would be a requirement. In order to have this permit, the city would be required to be named as additional insured. We would have to be held harmless and indemnified, and that would be, the permit process would be the insurable agreement, and that's the change we made in the ordinance. And then the insurance coverage would follow that commitment by the permittee.
Thank you.
So on those businesses that currently have encroachment on the sidewalk or permanent or just a sidewalk cafe, do they have us listed as additional insured currently?
Mr. Mayor, Council, they're supposed to. We work with our risk management department to ensure that they do and confirm that they have what they need before we approve anything. So anything you see out there today is supposed to, based on the sidewalk cafe policy that we're trying to put in code now.
Okay. So then will we go back to those business owners if this is approved and have them sign on to this new, not program, but fill out an application essentially and go through the process?
I would suspect so, yeah. I mean, the encroachment is for the permission to be in the public right-of-way.
And Mr. Mayor, I don't see for things that are already approved, as long as they're in compliance with the ordinances passed, I don't see them having to jump through any hoops, except for the insurance is one of those that we will confirm that they've had. Again, having an ordinance versus a policy helps us a whole lot. So our staff, probably our risk manager, will work with community development to make sure we have the proper insurance as needed. There might be some that don't and will have to, but it's not because they weren't supposed to already.
Okay.
Right, it has been a requirement.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts? No? Okay, I don't see any stark opposition to this, so I think it's safe to bring it back for a second reading. Okay, thank you. All right, if we could please have the deputy clerk read ordinance number 678 by title only.
Ordinance number 678, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404 general provisions by deleting the current section 404W outside display and adding a new section 404W use of public sidewalk. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, last item under new business is ordinance number 679, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 414 R2 zone, single-family, multiple-family residential by adding a new section C to 8, minimum rear yard, first reading.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is a proposal to amend the R2 zone's rear yard setbacks in response to some developments that we've seen that needed a little bit of flexibility in terms of rear yard setbacks in order to allow multifamily or duplex housing in the R2 zone, and comparing it with the R3 zone, which is a similar multifamily zone. The front setback in R2 is 20, whereas R3 is 10 feet. However, the side setbacks are identical, 5 feet or 15 feet when abutting a side street. The rear setbacks are different. The rear setback for R2 is 20 feet, measured to the center of the alley if there is an alley, and in R3 it's only 15 feet. So we're proposing, being consistent with R3, adding a provision that it can be 15 feet rear yard setback in the R2 zone if it's abutting an existing multifamily use in another zone or in the same zone. So the amendment would specifically read like this. This is what is on the books right now, 20 feet, and where it abuts an alley, it should be measured to the center line of the alley. We would simply add where the rear lot line abuts a multifamily use, there shall be a rear yard setback of not less than 15 feet. And of course, where it abuts any other use, like single family, it would still remain 20 feet. So again, the idea is to allow a little more flexibility for a greater variety of housing types in the city. This was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission last month, and we have not heard any comments on this.
Okay. All right. Any questions, discussion?
I have one question on the new section C, not less than 15 feet. Is that to the center of the alley, or is that two properties actually abutting each other? So you'd have 15 feet of property to the other property. And
the way it reads now
no
is from the property line.
Okay. So that would be where there would be no exit, no alleyway between the two. Is that correct?
That would be whether or not there is an alleyway. The way this is written now.
Okay. If there were an alleyway, then it would be halfway into the alley. You'd have to have 15 feet from the back of the residence or the building to the middle of the alley?
Now, I take that back. I think the B, and our legal counsel might chime in on this, the B might apply to this as well, where it says where the rear lot line abuts an alley, the measurement shall be from the center line of the alley. So whether it's 20 feet or 15 feet, I would think it would be measured from the center of the alley if there is one. Wouldn't you think so?
I'm going to have to give that a minute. I was focused on something else.
Mayor, Councilmember Hulse, I'll let legal counsel say if we got it right or not. But the intent, where applicable, to replace the number 20 with the number 15. So there's no intent to change any other measurement standards or where you measure from. It's just really if there's a multifamily unit behind them, we would allow them to have a smaller backyard in those cases. We did not want to make it universal because there's no intent to change neighborhoods, to keep R1, R1 kind of thing. But where it works, we wanted to create the flexibility. Where I see this working really is where we have odd-shaped lots or the last little piece of a development that needs to get a house on it, that kind of thing. It just creates a little more flexibility. There's not been a huge request from the community for a whole bunch of smaller backyards. It's really, I think, and staff can correct me if I'm misinterpreting, but it's to help in those odd places where the numbers just don't quite work out. Right now, there's no waiver of that 20. There's no give, and this just creates another option.
Right.
And I'm prepared to speak to that now, and I think I'll just, I think what I say will be consistent with what Ron says. Whenever we're making legislation or interpreting it, something specific governs over something more general. The 20-foot requirement would be the general requirement, and B is how you measure that 20-foot requirement, but the exception being when you have that situation of an abutting multifamily use, then that overrides the 20-foot requirement and goes to 15.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's great that we're looking ahead and trying to provide some flexibility. So, good work. Any other thoughts, concerns, comments? No? Okay. Again, I think this is ready for a second reading, so thank you. All right, Deputy Clerk, please read ordinance number 679 by title only.
Ordinance number 679, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 414 R2 zone, single-family, multiple-family residential by adding a new section C to 8 minimum rear yard. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next is the claims and adjustments. I'd move to pay the claims.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion and Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And next is executive session pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes sections 38-431.03.A.3 and or A.4. The council may vote to convene an executive session to discuss, consider, receive legal advice, and provide direction to staff regarding the proposed alignment of a trail and riverfront park in light of certain requests and objections that have been lodged by the Cottonwood Ditch Association.
I will move into executive session.
Okay, I'll second that. So Vice Mayor made the motion, Mayor seconded it.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm sorry to interrupt, but would you want to sort of combine the two executive sessions, or do you want to come out and then go back in?
Can we combine them both?
You can.
Okay.
Need to modify that motion?
Sure.
Okay, so then I will so move to take both of these into the same executive session.
All right, if I will, I'll just read the second item then so people know what we're talking about. The second item, executive session item, is pursuant to, all right, the council may vote to convene regarding pending possible changes to the vineyards at Cottonwood Master Plan Residential Development Project and Development Agreement. That would be the second item. So we'll go ahead and continue.
So I will move to go into executive session on both of those items.
All right, I'll second that. Roll call vote.
Wasn't prepared. Councilmember Hulse?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Naren?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Linsky?
Yes, thanks.
Motion carried.
All right, so now's the time that we ask everyone to leave. And keep our attorney and manager, and I don't know who else. Just
Mr. Ellis and Mr. Rodriguez.
okay, great.